what, 15 years old, and that dude on crack now. Now you can't marry him. Go on and stay with, go on and stay with your Howard Shot now. He a good dude. This your Howard Shot, not that your Howard Shot. All right, let's go back to 1 Corinthians.
That's deep there.
You got to put everything that being said in the context of the commandments, man. If you're not, you're gonna fall for the okie doke. All Satan want to do is a zoom, zoom, zoom. I'm just joking. All Satan want to do is get you to hell. That's it. And he will use me, your mother, your father, and your very bestest, closest friend to do it. Just like, remember in the Matrix, when he was when Neo and Morpheus was walking through the city, and he saw that lady in a red dress. He turned his head, and he said, "You see that? She what, lady in a red dress?" He turned his head. He said, "Yeah." He said, "Look again." Bam! And she had a gun pointed right at his head. What does that mean? That means if somebody is still plugged into the Matrix, Satan can enter in through them to you to kill you, to destroy your spirit. Your mother, your friends, your uncle, your aunts, your children, if they are not walking in the righteousness of the laws of the Most High, at any point in time, they could turn on you. It might be subtle, it might be noticeable, but they can turn on you because Satan's job is to get you into hell. Remember the Most High, how Hashatan told what he told the Most High. He said, "I've been seeking, going to and fro and up and down." The scripture says he goes to and fro like a roaring lion, seeing whom he may devour. Okay? All right, so everything got to be judged back to the law. If it ain't going back, the scriptures tell us it got to go back to the commandments. If not, then it's not right. Something's not right with that story. Now, nevertheless, to avoid fornication. What is fornication? Okay, now let's deal with polygamy. Having more than one woman. Who had more than one woman? David, Solomon, Abraham, Jacob, Gideon's father, so many kings of Israel. Were Moses had an Ethiopian woman and a Midianite woman. Were they sexual fornicators? Was Jacob a fornicator? No, he was not. Thank you. Was Abraham a fornicator? No, he was not. We don't want the conditions and the circumstances of everybody having all these different wives is not relevant to whether what they did was a sin or not. Why? Because the Most High killed Saul, the Most High let Saul get killed. And what did the Most High do with Saul's wives? Now, David had 7 wives, remember. David has 7 wives, remember, right? Because this is my natural Billy D. Williams voice. So we know that David had 7 wives, okay? So let's just say David had a lot of wives. So once Saul passed away, David, I don't think he had 7 yet, but once Saul passed away, what happened to Saul's wives? Who gave them to David? All right, let's go into 2 Samuel. Now, this is not something, I'm not teaching pro-polygamy or anti-polygamy. I'm teaching that you have to know the definition of these words that you're reading so that you don't fall into misunderstanding the proper biblical doctrine that's being taught. I mean, I could care less if a man got no wife, 1 wife, or 5 wives. What I care about is somebody telling you and trying to take away rights that the Father have given you. You don't got to eat no lamb if you don't want to eat lamb, but you can't tell nobody it's unlawful to eat lamb. You don't got to eat chicken. You don't got to eat no doves and quails, but you can't tell me it's unlawful to eat doves and quails. So when we're teaching and talking about doves and quails, it's not that we're trying to make you eat dove and quail. It's that we're trying to keep you from frowning upon a man that has chosen to eat dove and quail, or trying to judge or condemn a man that's eating dove or quail. Okay? So now let's go on. I know I said 20, but let's go into 2 Samuel chapter 12. 2 Samuel chapter 12, and can somebody start reading from verse 7? Okay. Well, and Nathan said unto David, Thou art the man. Thus saith Yahweh Elohim of Israel, Yasharahla. I anointed thee king over Israel, Yasharahla. And I delivered thee out of the hand of Saul. And I gave thee thy master's house. And what else? Thy master's wives. Not just gave them to you, but gave them to him where? Into thy bosom. I mean, I brought them to close personal proximity to you. I have an intimate relationship with you. For you to care for and nourish carefully. All right? And uprightly. That's what they mean to say, into thy bosom. And gave thee the house of Yasharahla and of Yawadah. And if that had been too little, I mean, if you wanted some more, I would moreover have given unto thee such and such things. I would have given you more and more if that wasn't. I mean, if you wanted more than his house, I would have given you more. If you wanted more than one woman, you wanted more women, I would have given you more women. If you would have wanted more of the children of Israel, I would have given you more.
That's everything.
All right? Right. So you see the point, though. The point is that David, how can you put certain kind of specification? What was the specification right here on David having these other women? What was the only prerequisite? The only condition was what? Saul was dead. Meaning what? The women's was single.
Sanctified because the husband died.
Well, they were single. There were single women. Single women's. I like women's.
That's the only way you become single again, right? If the husband dies.
If the husband dies, or single to remarry is if the husband dies. You can be single all you want to. Tell everybody I'm single. The only way, when you read Romans chapter 7, Paul tells you, you marry to your husband as long as your husband lives. So if your husband is alive and you be married to another, you should be called an adulteress. But if your husband liveth, if your husband dies and you marry another, you should be called you're free from the law of your husband. In Romans chapter 7 tells us that. But remember, there's so many conditions that the woman and the man have to meet. In American society now, everything is backwards. So you have to make sure that by the laws of the Most High that marriage is valid. I mean, you might meet a woman and say, well, I'm going to marry you. You're going to be my wife. Okay, that's my husband. Blah, blah, blah. They might find out that, the sister might have been married, when she was 20 or 8 years old, or not 8, but 18 years old. Her father could have told her to marry another guy. And she could have eloped and married another guy. And her father could have said, okay, that's okay. You with him, that's good. I want you to stay with this man. 5 years later, she could have gotten a divorce. Now she's 23 years old. Now she could have stayed single for 7 years. And then you meet her when she's 30 years old. She's still never been married again. You been married? Yeah, I was married when I was younger. Well, what happened? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I can't marry you. But since you don't know to ask them questions, men ask, are you single? They don't ask about, well, have you been married before? And did your father give this man to you? And did your father approve of this man? Or did your father keep his mouth silent when he found out that you were going to be this man's wife? Or did your father nullify the marriage flat out? You see? Or was that man married before he got with that woman? Was she given to him as a wife? And he walked away from her and she didn't commit adultery or fornication. If he did, then he can't remarry. When you go into Romans, when you go into Matthew chapter 5 and 19. That's why people say, oh, the law, we don't got to keep the laws of God Almighty no more. Why? Because the wickedness of this society makes you do too much digging to do the right thing. You got to dig too long. You got to dig too much, and it's worth it. To have that satisfaction in your spirit that you're doing the right thing is worth it. Hallelujah. All right, so let's go back into Corinthians chapter 2, chapter 7. We're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through it. All right. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife. Once again, if you want to see the conditions of fornication, we know that we can't make a woman a whore. We know we can't have sex with a woman and not make her our wife. But when you read in Leviticus, once again, chapter 18, in Leviticus chapter 20, we read the laws about sex and who we can and cannot have sex with. We can't expose the nakedness of a woman, homosexuality, and things like that. The woman that's near kin to us, our aunt, our mother, our sisters, things like that. But you can marry your cousins according to the laws of the Most High.
Your first cousin.
Any cousin. First, second, third, fourth, don't matter. All right. Now, your second cousin going to be your mother's first cousin. So if you got a second cousin that's old as your mother, she available, you can marry her. If you got a first cousin, that family reunions, y'all used to sneak behind and
kissing cousins?
Yeah, kissing cousins. All right? You can marry your third cousin, which is your mother's first cousin's children. You can marry them too, which is usually around your age, according to the laws of the Bible. Now, that's one of them things where they might look at you funny, but hey, you ain't broke the laws of the Most High. All right? You haven't broken his laws. What I say?
That's
Leviticus.
We did that when we was kids, because our spirits.
We who?
Well, I'm just saying.
Not a joke.
You know what I mean? Sometimes our spirit, even though we're disconnected from the Father, certain things, our spirit always bear witness. You know.
Now, when the ancient in the times of during the times of the kings and everything, you would be able to marry your cousins to keep that blood in the family and to keep the riches and the property in the family without joining another family into the equation. And that's how families got powerful, got more strong. And any family you pulled into the family had to be bringing something to the table also. All right? But you got so many more women you can marry that weren't your cousins that it's all right to marry somebody that ain't your cousin. But it's all right to marry somebody that is your cousin. And that's what I'm here to say. I'm not here to advocate marrying your cousin or not marrying your cousin. I'm here to teach the law. This is what the Most High said. I'm not here to criticize you or judge you for a decision that you made. All right? Now, I would say this. Now, you know that, all your cousins and brothers, they didn't have this disease or whatever. Everybody from this girl's family that's your cousin got this disease. So now I would be like Paul. I would advise you not to marry that cousin. Why? Because all of her brothers, all of their sisters, the mother and the father, ain't near one of them wrapped tight. None of them wrapped too tight. So, you gambling, Russian roulette, and there's 6 chambers and 6 bullets. All right. So, to avoid fornication, we know that fornication is a relationship that is not to the man, can belong to nobody else. Righteously belongs to the man, and nobody else can touch it. Right? Now, and let every woman have her own husband. Meaning every woman have her own husband as opposed to what? As opposed to another man's wife. Okay? As opposed to having another mess with another. Hold on, let me get this straight. Yeah. No, not another woman's man. Her own husband means she's only dealing with her own husband, not another man. How do we know that? Because then Rachel had her own husband, right? And then Leah had her own husband, right?
Right.
Bilhah had her own husband, right?
But he's another man, one of the woman's wife.
Right, and Zilpah had her own husband. So the 4 women all had their own husband, but they what? They had to share that possession. For example, you got a car, it's in your name, title's in your name, whatever. But if your husband or wife want to borrow the car, borrow the car. It's yours, but it's community property. Now, your wife is only for you. Jacob and Leah were together. Leah couldn't deal with no other man, but Jacob dealt with Rachel. So this word here for own wife is the Greek word heutu, okay, which means a possession that is exclusive. That's one of the definitions of it, is a possession that's exclusive. Let every woman have her own husband, which is idios, which means a possession that is not exclusive. That's one of the definitions. So we have to look at the definitions which don't violate what?
The law.
The law. Because you cannot what? What did the Most High say about the law about adding and taking away? What did he say about adding to the law and taking away from the law? He said don't add to it, don't take away from it. Matter of fact, in Revelation, he said anybody that add to or take away from this testimony, right? His name, his part should be taken away from the Lamb's Book of Life. So you can't take away from the law. We know it ain't talking about the letters that was written. Because we're not going to be judged by the letters. We're going to be judged by the law. Okay? In Revelation chapter 21 or 22. Revelation chapter 22, verse 18. For I testify unto every man that hears the words of the prophecy of this book. If any man shall add unto these things, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. So that's Revelation. So people know, yeah, that's right, man. You're supposed to add to it to take it away. It's talking about Revelation. Okay, shall not be taken from the law until all things be fulfilled. Now, let's go to verse 3. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 3. Let every husband render unto his wife due benevolence. Benevolence is love. Due benevolence means the love that is due to your woman. Show her love. Might not always be the type of love she want, but you got to show her love. Sometimes it might be smooth, romantic love. Sometimes it might have to be tough love. But you have to show her that love regardless. Okay? And likewise, also the wife unto the husband. So the wife has to show her husband love also. Now, we know that the woman can't show the husband tough love. That's like the man showing Christ tough love. You can't show tough love to your head. Anything that the man can't do to Christ, the woman can't do to the man. Anything that the child can't do to the mother can't do to the father.
What do you mean tough love, though?
Tough love, like you might have to put somebody in check hard. That's what I mean by,
Like arguing?
Well, not necessarily like arguing, but it's like I said no, that's it. You keep asking me, we're going to have a problem. You know what? Forget it. We ain't going to family reunion at all. We ain't going at all. So tell your uncles, no, the man can, but the woman can't. Right. That's what I'm saying. The man can, but the woman can't.
We can still get angry.
Who? But sin not. Right. But sin not. Can I get angry with Christ though? But he can get angry with me, right? So the woman have to learn how to curb her emotions more than the man. And the man got to curb his emotions toward Hamashiach. Because see, we fighting against something that we can't see. The woman is fighting against the man that she can see. And because the man don't have the power that he had in the ancient world, the woman going to talk a little more. Because she can't see that power. She don't know what's standing before her is a representative of the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. And the future rulers, kings, and priests of the planet Earth. She sees somebody she met at the Sunoco station and started reading the Bible. She don't see the ruler of power. Okay, but the Bible, the laws of the Most High are the equalizer. The scripture says that we walk by faith, not by what? So if you have faith that your man is going to be put in this position, you got to treat him that way.
Even though he's not in the truth?
Even if he ain't in the truth. Even if he ain't in the truth. You can't disrespect the man that you laying with. If you laying with him, he's your head, he's your husband, she's your woman. Even if she ain't in the truth, you still got to have the faith to walk her and be patient with her righteously. That's what Paul talks about in the last part of the chapter, like verse 15 on down, which hopefully we get to that point. Let the woman render unto the wife due benevolence. Let's show each other love. That's what Paul is saying. Show each other love. Now he's going back into the Torah, because the Torah talks about how you want flesh, right? Love you. That's how Mashiach means when he said every man should love his woman like he loves his own body. That's what Paul talks about, right? So you gotta love your woman like you love your own body, because it is your own body. You two are one flesh. There's a spiritual connection, all right? Y'all exchanging body fluids. Parts of the man is floating around in the woman, and parts of the woman is floating inside the man. That's how people get AIDS and chlamydia and gonorrhea, because pieces of each other's bodies are going into the other one. So the man is absorbing the woman's DNA, and the woman is absorbing the man's DNA. Now the man can do that and take on many forms of DNA from many women. But when the woman starts taking on different forms from the DNA, her body starts to get sick. Her body changes more so than the man. So clean woman, clean man, clean women, one man, the DNA is cool. Clean woman, clean man, clean man. When the woman starts sharing her body with more than one man, her body gets sick. The man's body won't get sick if he's doing the same thing. If he has two wives that he's dealing with righteously. But if the woman has two men that she's dealing with, she's taking on two different. She's taking on two different. Let's call it master chromosomes, because we giving X's and Y's. All of our DNA got. They can look at any part of a man's body and know it's a man because of his DNA. So we putting two X's. X is dominant. So we putting an X and X. So them genes get into the person's body, and spiritually them genes is fighting against each other. Because you can't have two dominant genes into a person's body. They're going to fight each other. All right? But the X's is submissive every time the X come into the man. They got to bow down to the man. Then the man dominates the woman's spirit in righteousness. Not like, smell my feet. I ain't talking about nothing like that. I'm talking about righteously. In a righteous relationship of holiness. Okay? So now let's go into verse 4. With everything, remember, everything goes back to the law. And if you know Genesis, then you a bad mamma jamma, because Genesis really gives you the whole blueprint for everything. Right? Let's look at 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 4. The wife has not power of her own body, but the husband. And likewise also the husband has not power of his own body, but the wife. Meaning, you two were made for each other's pleasure, for each other's edification, for each other's benefit. And don't try to withdraw that benefit from the other person. Once you remove yourself from the other person, then that's when sins and evil thoughts come in. Okay? Because, and then like a woman will have a husband, have sex with a husband. This don't mean that I ain't mad with you no more. Right? This don't mean I ain't mad with you no more because we had sex. Okay, that's cool. But it still keep the woman from sinning. But if the husband say, you know what, I ain't gonna have sex with you so you're not mad at me no more. The woman go out there, distance and time, and then before you know it, you know what I'm saying, Satan will put the right thought in her head and put the right person in front of her, and what's gonna happen? Fornication or adultery. So that's why he says that you don't have power over your body. Don't use sex as a tool or a weapon to fight against your spouse. That's evil. That's wicked. Sex is not meant to be a tool. Use your mouth and express your words. Use your mouth. Sex, that is not your body to say, well, nah, you didn't cook me grits. I told you I didn't want no damn oatmeal. Or no grits. Told you I want cream of wheat. And then you're going to say, I ain't going to lay with you no more. You know what I'm saying? Until the next wheat harvest.
Yeah, that is evil.
That's evil. So the women and the men do this to each other. Mm-hmm. And the white man, he put this out there. He wants you to submit. Low key, he wants you to submit to the woman. You know what I'm saying? Because I'll be damned if anybody gonna have me laying on my couch in my house. They put that in the movie like it's funny. Oh, guess I'm on the couch tonight, honey. Well, I left your pillows and your she's on the couch. And my children like, what are you talking about? I don't know nothing about, what's that about? You know, they don't know nothing about that because they ain't seen no parts of that.
You in the doghouse.
You see what I'm saying? And that's the domination that the woman like to have over the man in this society. And they put that on Al Bundy, what was that show? What was that show with Al Bundy and Married with Children? You know what I'm saying? You better say y'all.
I was asked a question about David's situation where his wife laughed at him for dancing.
That's another thing. David was dancing, took his shirt off, you know, and tore it around his head like a helicopter. He had his shirt off, right? Dancing. And his woman got fly with him, like, yo, you look like a fool out there today. David said, oh, for real? Well, guess what? You ain't gonna have no children. Which means what? I ain't gonna lay with you. Or I'm gonna lay with you when I know you ain't gonna have no children. So either way, probably not lay with her at all. Because he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 wives. So it didn't even matter. So she got fly with him and he was within his rights to say, you know what, I ain't gonna sleep with you no more.
Ain't that sin though?
Nah. I mean, she got, hate to use this phrase, but I can't use no other phrase. She got out of pocket. She got out of pocket. You know what I'm saying? That's showing you the tiptoe, that's showing you the respect that the men expected from the women in ancient times. Nowadays, if a woman tell a man, nigga, you need to just shut up. He gonna be over that in maybe a day or two. And if a woman tell a man, you sound like a fool, the man ain't gonna be like, oh, for real? For real? I ain't laying with you ever again. That's gonna seem extreme. But that disrespect, those words that she said were extremely disrespectful in David's eyes as the king of Israel and as a man of the Most High. You see? Is there something else you want to? Okay. So you just put the bait out there for me to just take it. So yes, I mean so watch how you talk to your man. Period. Watch how the woman talk to her man. When you read in Titus chapter 2, it tells you woman supposed to be discreet, quiet, chaste, keepers at home, lovers of her children. What's what mean? Discreet meaning ain't trying to expose her body, her mouth, her curves, her ideas and thoughts to the whole world. Ain't broadcasting. Like, what's the girl name? Wendy Williams. No, not like Wendy Williams. Or not like discreet meaning what? Everybody know what discreet means, right? Like if I tell you something, hey, when you was in school, remember? And you didn't have no phone with you and you had to pass somebody a note, that's discretion. Like, here, take this. While the teacher's up there talking. That's discreet. But now you got the phone, we just text it. Chaste means like not really promoting or focusing on sexual things. So when you look at the woman that's being taught by an older woman, she's not being looked at upon as a sex object because there's not nothing sexual that's really being amplified in her. You know, like look at my lips, Facebook, pictures like that on Facebook, and you know what I'm saying, butt shots on Facebook, and look at my whole body on Facebook, shots and all of that. That's not chaste. Chaste is when you know you look good, you know people attracted to certain features of you, and you putting it out there for everybody to see and trying to highlight it. Just like somebody telling me, well, Parzai, you got the most prettiest medium brown eyes I ever seen my whole life. And here I am with a close-up on Facebook with just my eyes. That's what it's talking about. Chaste is doing the opposite of that. Not broadcasting your features. Not trying to share your features with everybody else. You know, chaste and discreet, they run together. You know what I mean? They run together. Because it's really just a woman just being low-key and being reserved. Like a lot of our sisters are, you know, that come around on the Shabbat and the feast days or whatever. They discreet. They low key. They don't be all blah blah blah. Blah blah. And you don't even really hear them.
Like boasting.
Yeah, boasting. And then what's the other word? Boasting and boisterous, rambunctious and loud. Is they meek and remember the Most High said He loved a what kind of spirit? Meek and quiet spirit, which is in the eyes of the Most High of great value. So meek and quiet is like extreme spiritual riches in the eyes of the Most High, which means proud and loud is something that He thinks is garbage. The opposite always apply.
So meek?
Meek is like humble, like not all out there, not all loud, and not all like just always in the mix of everything. And meek is like Moses. Meek is like, okay, well, I'm gonna just sit back. Shamefacedness when you read the scriptures. Shamefacedness. And shamefaced is just when a woman is just like, you know how like call her name, the little girl. Call her. What's up?
Her name.
Yasharahla.
Torah.
He called you.
Huh?
See how she don't really want to.
Right, she got that.
She don't want to make that contact with you.
Yeah, but that spirit.
Yeah, like I'm gonna just kind of stay out the way.
She got that
That
spirit.
bashful.
Yeah, that spirit about it.
Right.
That real quiet, beautiful spirit.
Right. Now when you turn your eyes from her, she look at you.
Right.
But when you turn your eyes back to her, she turn away from you.
Right.
That's that bash. So shamefaced is like bashful.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna make you think. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna give you the wrong. So I'm gonna just. So that's that shamefacedness. Right. How the woman, when she is younger,
right.
But once she get out there, like, what did you got an eye problem? What did you all in my face for?
Right.
What did you looking at me for? And just that get that mean spirit on her. And that's a woman that's been abused and used by so many men. A lot of times the mean spirits like that is a woman, she's been through the hands of so many different men and dogs.
She got her guards up.
Got her guards up and her spiked armbands.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Man.
Yeah. So and that's lightweight understandable.
Understandable.
You know what I'm saying? But you ain't gotta be so mean all the time. You ain't gotta be so mean all the time to everybody. Okay, so
all the time, bro.
It's verse 5. 1 Corinthians 7:5. Defraud ye not one another. Meaning don't hold back, that intimacy from each other. Mm-hmm. Except it be with consent for a time. Except you have a certain time period that you're going to go, okay, we're not going to lay together for 5 weeks. Why? That ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer. Mm-hmm. So you're fasting and praying. So you're still doing a high-level spiritual thing, so you're making your spirit stronger,
right, so
actually.
If my husband's not in the truth and I'm on fasting and prayer, I'm still to tell him, like, to do my thing, fasting and prayer, right?
Say that one more time.
Like, if my husband's not in the truth, but I'm fasting and praying for these 7 days or whatnot, I'm still to tell him, like, hey, I'm fasting and prayer.
If he agree, that's why I say with consent.
Yeah. But what if he don't agree? And
hold on. It's a simple question. If he don't agree, then he don't agree. It is what it is. Ain't no mystery. He run a show. If he say no, that means no. Now you got to find some kind of way, to fast some other kind of way. You might fast from TV, or you might fast from, eating certain foods. There's different levels of fasting. You might fast from speaking. You might like to talk. You might say, well, I'm not going to speak for this unless I need to. You might fast from eating cooked foods. You might just eat, just fruits and vegetables. You know what I'm saying? For that week. So, but oftentimes, you got to trust in the Most High, and you can't lean to your own understanding. If you acknowledge Him, He going to direct your path and make things the way that He wants them to be, by Shem Yahushai, through the power of the Messiah, Hamashai. But I'm just telling you, like, the answer. Now, the Most High is the one that decides, well, I'm going to intervene in the situation. But if you don't intervene, that's what it is. You can't do nothing about it. You know what I mean? You can't do nothing about it. Make him do nothing that you want him to do. Because he's the boss. That's the boss. But I'm sure if you speak to a man and say, well, I really want to blah, blah, blah. And also, like, I want to do this and do that. spiritual understanding and fasting and praying and da-da. Most men gonna understand something like that, especially when you're talking about dealing with the Creator. If this is the
but
best.
If they just full of the devil,
Mm-hmm.
who don't want you fast.
Well, I guess I just can't win with you, so I guess you can't. I guess you can't fast and pray then.
Full of the devil, they don't want you fasting because they don't want you getting closer to the Father.
I guess you can't get close to Father that way. You got to find another way then. You got to find another way then. But the Father will make a way if, He'll make a way if He want to. You can't make the Most High, Christ, Yahushua, or a man do anything they don't want to do. So if the man say no, that's what it is. You got to find a way of fasting some other kind of way. That's his right. Can no man take away the rights of another man? If your husband say, you know what, I don't want nobody to see nothing but your eyes when you leave the house, that's what it is. If he say, I want you wearing black gloves, no sleeves, no neck, no collarbone, that's what it is. You see what I'm saying? So the point is that whatever your situation is, he could exercise more authority and give you more to complain about. You see what I'm saying? He could, and that's his right. That's his right. If he said, you know what, I want us to eat plain pasta for the rest of the month. You got to eat plain pasta for the rest of the month.
Really? But if you're talking about sinning, I don't want you to stop wearing them skirts and put on these Daisy Dukes.
Now you got to keep the laws of the Most High. You can't have you can't make the daughters of Zion into whores, and you can't engage. Lasciviousness is one. Arousing people's sexuality is one of the sins that's going to keep us out of the kingdom. If you look in Galatians, if you go into Galatians real quick, after 2 Corinthians, Galatians chapter 5, verse Galatians 5:19. I'm gonna just read that. Now these are the works of the flesh manifest. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness.
What's that mean?
Lasciviousness is anything that has a reasonable expectation to arouse the sexuality of a normal person. I mean somebody be like, oh man, she got on that black polish. Oh man. Oh.
So is that makeup, or are we supposed to, are we allowed to wear makeup?
Let me stick to the first. Let me stick to the first question because you got me on rabbit trails now. You know what I'm saying? Let me stick to the question. Lasciviousness. Then see in verse 11, the last part of the verse. As I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of Yahweh. So, I'm sorry, verse 21, Salaki. So we won't inherit the kingdom if we engage in lasciviousness. So we can't allow anybody to make us do something that's going to jeopardize our salvation. If it don't jeopardize our salvation and they have authority over us, then we have to do it. Okay? So let me go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 7. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 5. That Satan tempt you not for your incontinency. Incontinency means you haven't come together. And Satan can tempt you if you haven't agreed to fast from these things. Okay? But I speak this by permission and not by commandment. I mean, he's saying that I'm doing this out of the Holy Spirit allowing me to say it, not because the things I'm saying are a commandment from the Most High. Okay? So he's saying that basically that the husband doesn't have to tell his wife that he's about to fast, and he doesn't have to get her agreement on it. He's just saying that it's going to be easier and less temptation for you and from Satan, because for you and the woman, if you two agree to do it this way. Now listen what he says again. For I would that all men were even as I myself. Meaning what? Paul saying, I would that all men were single. Yep. So this chapter he's writing is not about one wife, two wife. It's about zero wife. Because of the present condition that Israel and the Gentiles were in, that were believing in Hamashiach. They was being persecuted and they were getting killed left and right. So Paul is saying, it'd be better for you to remain single. I mean, real talk. Because everybody's people getting murdered and killed left and right. And now you're going to take on another person to care about and another person to follow behind you if you have to run and flee somewhere, because you can't just leave your wife there. So focus on building up this kingdom, man, and winning souls. Don't focus on dealing with your wife. Focus on building the king. Now, Paul was writing during the time of the fall of Israel, right? But now we're in the time of what? The rising of Israel. So a lot of these things, a lot of the reasons he's giving some of this advice don't apply to us now. There's a time and a season for all things. So let's go into Ecclesiastes. And Paul knows this. A lot of these words weren't written to be applied to all seasons. Ecclesiastes. I believe it's chapter 3. Verse 1. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. Meaning the time to be married, there's a time to refrain from being married. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. So he's saying it's a time for you to get married or to you embrace somebody, pull them close, and a time not to pull somebody close to you. Okay? A time to rend and a time, Salakia, a time to get and a time to loose, right? A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend, which means to tear, and a time to sew, which means to bring it back together. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace. So Paul is saying basically, it's a time to do, not Paul, but Solomon is saying basically there's a time to do everything, but you have to know the time and know the season and know if it's time to do what's being said. Now, in the rise of Israel, is it time for us to have children or not to have children? Is it time for us to get married or not to marry? Is it time for us to gather together or time for us to what? To scatter. Right? The Most High said what? Gather yourselves together. Okay? O nation not desired. So 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 1. I would that all men were even as myself, which means single. But every man has his proper gift of Yahweh, one after this manner and another after that. Meaning, the gift that you have may not require you to stay single. I say, therefore, to the unmarried and widows. So he's saying now, I'm going to skip y'all, and I'm going to talk to the women that's not, the people that aren't married, and to the widows. It is good for them if they abide, even as I. So he says it's good for the women that's not married to stay unmarried. Now, does that apply to now? Is there any Israelite churches, schools saying that, hey, brother, you ain't married, don't get a wife? Nobody's saying that. Now, why? Because they know that this verse is not as applicable in our time as it was in Paul's time, right? So now you know you can get a wife. You can marry now because it's a whole different time period. Not that Paul's words aren't valid and true and inspired by the Most High and the Holy Spirit, Rokah HaKodash, but it's just that this is not the time that we're living in now. Okay? Not that the times have changed to disregard Paul's words, but that the oppression and the danger of his time period aren't upon us now. We're not talking about when Paul wrote, let a woman keep silent in church and all that. I'm not saying we're not saying it's a time for that, not a time for that. That's general. That have nothing to do with, the women can't talk in church because we're being oppressed. Nah.
Been woman be quiet since Eve.
You know what I'm saying? So now he says what? But if they cannot contain, meaning what? They can't, contain that desire for sex. He says what? If they cannot contain, let them marry. I mean, now they can go off and be with a man, or the virgin man can go and be with a woman. For it is better for them to marry than to burn. To burn how? To burn in the fire. The lake of fire for committing serial fornication. So go out and commit these sexual sins and you're going to get punished eternally for it. It's better just to go ahead and get married. Okay, verse 10. And to the married I command, yet not I, but Yahweh. Let not the wife depart from her husband. So the Most High said the wife cannot depart from her husband. But, and if she depart, if by some reason or some circumstance she finds herself not willing to stay with the man or not capable of staying with the man, but if she depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled unto her husband. And let not the husband put away his wife. So when you go in Romans chapter 7, verse 1, it says, verse 2, for the woman which has a husband is bound by the law to her husband as long as he liveth. But if the husband be dead, she is loosed from the law of her husband. Okay, that's one verse. In Mark chapter 10, verse 12. And if a woman shall put away her husband and be married to another, she committeth adultery. Okay? So that's dealing with the woman. Now the man can remarry, or a man can marry as many women as he wants. That's available in righteousness. But if he divorces a woman if he puts away his wife and she didn't commit adultery, if he remarries under those conditions, then he's an adulterer. He's an adulterer.
So he can't put away his wife unless she